Hello and welcome to the Civil War Project, where I'm retracing Civil War history one person, place, and event at a time. Because the build-up to the Civil War is just as important as the war itself, I've created a weekly recap series that posts every Tuesday. This is your weekly recap for Monday, January 24th through Sunday, January 30th, 1859. For previous weeks, you'll find them on my channel under the weekly recap playlist. So, let's talk history. The Pacific Railroad bill that Mississippi Senator Jefferson Davis spoke about in the U.S. Senate a few weeks ago is officially dead. Well, it is until the 1860 presidential election, when many will likely add it to their party platforms. The New York Times writes that it seems congressional committees and meetings are long gone and have been reduced to petty squabbles of individual ambition and the open electioneering of rival factions over these last several years. They also note that citizens are willing to put up with parties and constant oratory from candidates, but in return they expect work to be done. This understanding seems to be breaking apart because nothing is getting done. Congress doesn't care, President Buchanan doesn't care, but the people care and other countries are noticing. The United States is still very much an experiment to the rest of the world. The women's anti-slavery movement in Boston is throwing a 25th anniversary celebration at Music Hall. They are inviting the women of Boston to stop by during the day to become a subscriber and then return at night for free music and conversation. In the past, they have done a yearly fair but are shaking things up for the special occasion. Sorry, gentlemen, it's ladies only tonight. A U.S. Senator from New York, William H. Seward, gives a speech to the Senate against President James Buchanan's persistent efforts to purchase Cuba. Buchanan has long had an interest in the Caribbean island, going back to 1854 when he was minister to Britain. He is eager to purchase this island from Spain for two key reasons. First, there is fear of a slave revolt, similar to what happened in Haiti 6 decades prior. Second, it helps expand U.S. slave territory, also leading to more Southern power within Congress. Seward, a longtime abolitionist, poses serious questions about how its purchase would impact the country when they are already dealing with bleeding Kansas. He also scoffs at the fact that the president, without permission from Congress, offered Spain $30 million for Cuba when the United States is already millions in debt. Seward acknowledges that the president has the right to discuss and negotiate, but feels Buchanan is not being honest by doing it all in secret and only pulling Congress in when he wants the check written. As John Brown and his 12 freedom seekers slowly make their way north from Kansas, he has unfortunately left one of his own to fend for himself, with disastrous consequences. Englishman John Doy has his own 13 freedom seekers to help, and initially they were all going together with 10 armed men as escorts. But Brown changed his mind at the last minute and left Doy and his freedom seekers behind, and with no armed men to protect them. Brown felt that the bounty on his head put him at a higher risk, so therefore it was best that they split up, with Brown commandeering all the escorts. He felt Doy had no risk in comparison. Doy enlists the help of 2 free black men, Charlie Smith and Wilson Hayes. Smith is from Brownsville, Pennsylvania, and Hayes is from Cincinnati, Ohio. They have been working as cooks at a hotel, the Eldridge House, in Lawrence. They also want out of Kansas and want to go to Iowa with the Freedom Seekers. On Tuesday, January 25th, as they all travel in 2 wagons across the Kansas prairie, Doy, his son, a wagon driver, Smith, Hayes, and the 13 freedom seekers are captured by 15 armed slave catchers on horseback. They tie them all up one by one and head back to Missouri. The Doy group is taken at gunpoint across the Missouri River to Weston. They are met by a pro-slavery mob with deafening chants of "Hang him!" filling the air. Smith, Hayes, and the freedom seekers are immediately taken to a separate building. The wagon driver is released, and Doy and his son are moved to a Platte City jail where they will await trial. Doy would later write that his room in the jail was a windowless iron box or metallic coffin in which we eat, sleep, and are shown to persons who, with a candle, take a view of the 2 live abolitionists. The Daily Herald, an Evansville, Indiana newspaper, prints a letter to the editor outlining what the Republican Party needs in order to succeed in the 1860 presidential election. This party only has one presidential election under their wing, so it is important to think ahead about what is needed. This gentleman states that Illinois, Indiana, and Pennsylvania are the 3 states that Republicans must carry to win, and he believes that is why the 1856 candidate, John C. Fremont, lost to James Buchanan. While the papers are saying it will be Salmon P. Chase, governor of Ohio, William H. Seward, U.S. Senator from New York, or Nathaniel P. Banks, governor of Massachusetts, this writer believes that none of them can win these 3 states. It's his belief that, quote, "It's time the West had a president. Her interests, her power, her progress, her promise demands it. Let him be eloquent and sterling like Henry H. Lane of Indiana, or the profound and honest Abraham Lincoln from Illinois, or the gallant and clear-headed William Henry Bissell, also from Illinois." In Virginia, slave trader Philip Thomas writes to his partner, William A.J. Finney, about the epidemic in Richmond, Virginia that is impacting enslaved persons, and therefore their business. His job is to purchase enslaved people from Virginian farmers and then sell them for a profit in Georgia, Mississippi, and Alabama. He writes, "Slaves die daily, and I suppose there are at least 60 or 100 sick at this time. Some have actually died on the cars going south. 5 or 6 have died out of Lumpkin's jail, and the worst of it is they die in some 24 hours of being taken." Thomas reassures his partner that he has protected their investment with insurance. "One of our children is very sick this morning," he wrote. "I have sent for the doctor, but all the grown ones I have had insured as soon as I bought them." The state of Indiana is still fighting with the U.S. Senate over whether they have legal representation. When Jesse Bright and Graham Fitch were voted into the Senate by the Indiana General Assembly in 1856 and 57, the Republican Party in Indiana, also the minority party, pulled tactics such as not showing up for the vote to hold off any nominations until they had the power to control them. Indiana Democrats had pulled similar stunts when they were the minority party. Republicans are strongly opposed to Bright and Fitch because they are pro-slavery, even though Indiana is a free state where slavery is illegal. The Democrats voted anyway and felt it was legal enough, so they sent the 2 men with credentials to the U.S. Senate. The Republicans now have the majority in 1859, and they have elected Henry S. Lane and William M. McCarty as senators for Indiana, as they feel the previous Democrat vote was against the rules. Lane and McCarty have now arrived in Congress with their credentials. The U.S. Senate has to determine which 2 men are legitimately accepted. Will it be the Republicans or the Democrats? We'll find out in a few weeks. The popular Harper's Weekly publishes this illustration titled "Opium, the Poor Child's Nurse," as their commentary on the situation. In 1858, 300,000 pounds of opium were imported into the country, with an estimated 90% used recreationally. They say opium addiction is found in the glassy eyes in Fifth Avenue drawing rooms and opera stalls, and in the babies of beggar women. Infants, largely in low-income families, are given it to reduce crying when teething, hence the title. On January 28, 1859, William H. Prescott dies in Boston, Massachusetts. Educated at Harvard, he was known to have a photographic memory. He also had severe vision impairment that at times made it difficult for him to read or write himself, but was able to do extensive research with the help of his wife Sarah. William became a prominent American historian, best known for his major works, History of the Conquest of Mexico in 1843 and History of the Conquest of Peru in 1847. During his lifetime, he was often called America's first scientific historian. He has written other popular books that focus on the reigns of several monarchs in Spain. Today, he has a second stroke and dies immediately at the age of 62. And those are just a few of the key things that happened the week of January 24th through January 30th, 1859. Please like, subscribe, and hit the bell to receive notifications when future videos come out. Thank you for watching, and as always, I bid you an affectionate farewell.